Okay, so today our topic is on GIT. We're going to discuss each element in GIT, and then later on, with each element, we're going to talk about what are the important questions that mostly come in FCPS and MDS papers. Okay, so let's just start. Okay, so we have the structure of GIT, which is composed of four main elements. First of all, we have your epithelial cells, the muscularis mucosa, the muscle, and the submucosal plexus. Epithelial cells and muscularis mucosa, the main function of both of them is secretion and absorption. Muscles are further divided into circular and longitudinal muscles. Circular muscles, they contract, and then in that way they decrease. They're responsible for decreasing and increasing the lumen the muscle lumen. Then we talk about the longitudinal muscle. Longitudinal muscles, they contract, and in this way they're decreasing and or increasing the segment of the muscle. Submucosal plexus. Submucosal plexus, there are two major ones. We have the Meissner and the Mentric. Now they compose of the Mentric system. They compose of the both of them. They compose of the enteric nervous system. Now an important question that mostly comes is, where are these plexus present? So Meissner plexus is present. It's also called as submucosal plexus, and it's present between your muscularis mucosa and the circular muscle. Whereas the Mentric plexus, it's present between the circular and the longitudinal muscle. So that is that. Function of enteric nervous system is going to be motility, secretion, and endocrine functions. Next, let's talk about the innervation of the GIT. So, the autonomic nervous system of the GIT is composed of the extrinsic and the intrinsic nervous system. Extrinsic nervous system is further divided into parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. Now, parasympathetic, the major purpose of parasympathetic nervous system is excitatory functions in the GIT tract. This is supplied by the vagus nerve and the pelvic nerve. Vagus nerve supplies to four major areas. A mnemonic would be soup, starting with S is your stomach, U is your upper large intestine, P is your pancreas, and E is your esophagus. Next, we talk about the pelvic nerve. Pelvic nerve is supplying the lower large intestine, the rectum, and the anus. So think of it as upper half of the abdomen and lower half of the abdomen. Next, the sympathetic nervous system is basically has an inhibitory function. The fibers are originating from T8 to L2. So the structure is something like this. We have your pre-sympathetic cholinergic fibers. They are synapsing at the prevertebral ganglia. Post-sympathetic adrenergic fibers are then leaving, and they're synapting at Mentric and submucosal plexus. So this is the intrinsic nervous system. Now it's coming to the intrinsic nervous system. The main function of the intrinsic nervous system is to relay information between your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system to the GIT. Okay, they're doing this by getting local reflexes. Okay, so now the major functions of the intrinsic nervous system is motility and secretion. Here basically we're talking about the Mentric plexus. Mentric plexus is responsible for motility, and the Meissner plexus, which is the submucosal plexus, that is responsible for secretion and blood flow. So these local reflexes are received by chemoreceptors and mechanoreceptors, which are present all over the GIT tract. Okay, so next coming to GI hormones. Now this GI hormone topic is a very important topic. It mostly comes in all the exams, and you'll have either like one or two questions from this topic at least. Okay, so this is like really important. Okay, so starting with, you should know where these hormones are actually starting from. Whether they're being secreted from, and then where are they targeting. So they're released from your endocrine cells in the GI mucosa. Then from that, they're going to travel through the portal circulation, and then towards the general circulation, and from general circulation to target cells. So GI hormones are further divided into, we have your official GI hormones, which are these four, and then we have your candidate hormones. Okay, so mostly questions are mostly coming from these hormones. You rarely get questions from these, but these are also important. Do study them also. Okay, so we have the GI hormones. Now, gastrin, number one is gastrin, which is released from the stomach. Then we talk about secretin, CCK, and GIP. All of them are secreted from the duodenum. We'll get into the details later. now let's talk about the candidate GI hormones. We have motilin, leptin, ghrelin, pancreatic polypeptide, and GLP-1, which is glucagon-like peptide 1. Okay, now let's coming to the first hormone, which is one of the official GI hormones, is gastrin. Okay, so gastrin is really important. Gastrin is the only hormone which is released from the stomach. Site of secretion is going to be your G cells, which are present in the gastric antrum, and the action of gastrin is basically as soon as food enters your stomach. Whenever you eat a meal, and that meal is rich in proteins, mostly chicken, or whether it is dal, or something which is really high in protein, so that is going to cause release of gastrin. So majorly we have peptides and amino acids. Okay, one major BCQ question is which peptide and amino acid causes a potent increase in gastrin. That is phenylalanine and tryptophan. Okay, number 2 is distension of the stomach. So obviously when you have a lot of food that is coming in your stomach is going to distend. That distension causes a release in gastrin. And number 3 is vagal stimulation. Or via GRP, that causes a release in gastrin too. Okay, so these are the stimulus which has caused increase in gastrin. So now gastrin has released. What is gastrin going to do? Gastrin is going to increase the HCl in the stomach. What is HCl going to do? HCl is responsible for breakdown, and gastrin is responsible for motility, so that the food is all churned up, it is broken down, it's basically turning into chyme. Okay, and lastly, gastrin also causes growth of the gastric mucosa. Okay, so now pathology of gastrin is that there's a disease called as Zillinger-Ellison syndrome, in which gastrin is released. That is also called as gastrinoma. In this case, the gastric mucosa, the growth of the gastric mucosa is enormous. It's just increasing. So that is one of the pathology. Number 2 is increase in chronic atrophic gastritis. That is by H. pylori. And last, we talk about increase in chronic PPI use. That also causes increase in gastrin. Okay, gastrin is inhibited by 2 things. We have HCl in the stomach and stomatostatin. So obviously this is your there's already stomach in there's already hydrogen ions are present in your stomach. The pH is already low. That causes inhibition of gastrin further. Okay, so the next hormone we're going to talk about is CCK. CCK is released from the eye cells of the duodenum, and the major stimuli for CCK is basically small proteins and fatty acids and monoglycerides, not triglycerides. So basically the function basically, why am I saying not triglycerides? Because triglycerides are too huge to pass through the small intestine wall. Okay, the action of CCK I've broken down into a mnemonic, which is GPS. G is acting on the gallbladder, P is the pancreas, and S is the stomach. So basically what is it doing is that when fatty acids and small proteins, when the CCK in the duodenum, it detects these elements which are coming from the stomach, it acts on the gallbladder, tells the gallbladder, okay, gallbladder, you need to contract now and secrete bile. Acts on the pancreas and tells the pancreas, okay, pancreas, we need more pancreatic enzymes and we need more bicarbonate secretion. Okay, all of this why? To break down the proteins and the fatty acids which are coming now. And stomach, it tells stomach, okay, fine, stomach, we need to delay this emptying process. You're going too fast, man. We need to delay this emptying. So basically, CCK is acting on these 3 elements. A mnemonic is GPS. Very easy to remember. Just remember that. Okay, so our next hormone is secretin. Now secretin is acting basically opposite to gastrin and CCK. Secretin is released from the S cells from the duodenum. Okay, and stimuli for secretin is HCl in the duodenum. Okay, that is HCl, hydrogen ions in the duodenum, which is causing again a decrease in pH, and fatty acids in the duodenum. So there are these three stimuli for secretin release. Action of secretin, a mnemonic I have made is PLS, please. A short form of please, PLS. Okay, so the secretin is acting on the pancreas. Secretin, pancreas, liver, and stomach. Okay, so secretin acts on the pancreas, says to increase in bicarbonate production for neutralization of this decrease in pH in the duodenum. So, we need more bicarbonate. Also, secretin is causing growth of exocrine pancreas. Secretin also acts on the liver, and in the liver, it's causing an increase in bicarbonate production and water, and increase in bile production. Okay, and in stomach it is causing decrease in HCl secretion and decrease in gastric motility. So the purpose of secretin is basically that it's doing everything in order to decrease the acidic environment that is in the duodenum, because the hormones in the duodenum, they cannot function in acidic environment, they need an alkaline environment to function. So that's that. Okay, so a question that can come mostly is that, name a hormone that is going to cause a decrease in gastric motility. You can write secretion. Okay, name a hormone that is going to cause an increase in bile production. That is secretin. Name a hormone which is going to cause an increase in gastric motility and HCl secretion. That is what? Gastrin. So these are very common questions which mostly come. Okay, name a hormone which is stimulated by which is not stimulated by triglycerides. That is CCK. So these are some of the common questions. Okay, lastly, let's talk about the gastric inhibitory peptide. Now, gastric inhibitory peptide is secreted by your K cells of the duodenum, and they're stimulated by all three elements. It's stimulated by fat, protein, carbohydrate. This is a very common BCQ that mostly comes. Now, action of GIP is that it acts on the pancreas and the stomach. A mnemonic I've made is PS, that is pancreas and stomach. So it acts on the pancreas and causes an increase in insulin, and it acts on the stomach and inhibits HCl secretion. So basically, it increases. An important point to remember is that an increase in insulin is more commonly, and it's more faster by an oral glucose as compared to an IV glucose. So that is a point to remember. And in stomach, it's causing inhibiting HCl secretion. So yeah, that's about it. So these were your four major GI hormones. Now coming next is your the other hormones, which are also called as your secondary hormones. Okay, so these are your four major candidate or secondary hormones. Starting with motilin. The major function of motilin, it's causing increase in GI motility and intestinal motility. Okay, so motilin is also given as a medicine, to increase GI motility whenever you don't have, whenever you feel constipated or something. So, motilin is given. Okay, next we talk about pancreatic polypeptide. Pancreatic polypeptide, as the name is suggesting, it's inhibiting pancreatic secretions. So all the pancreatic secretions will be inhibited by this hormone. Glucagon-like peptide, this is an opposite of pancreatic peptide. It's causing stimulating insulin secretion. Now let's talk about leptin and ghrelin. Again, they're opposites of each other. Leptin is going to decrease your appetite. So this is mostly given in dietary supplements, and in those crash diet supplements, leptin is present. And ghrelin is a hormone which increases appetite. So in all those scenarios when you're fasting, that in those cases ghrelin is increased. Also, ghrelin is increased during a Prader-Willi syndrome. Okay. A very important BCQ which comes in exams is that when you're giving motilin with a drug which is agonist to motilin receptor, so which is erythromycin, that causes an increase in intestinal peristalsis. So this is a very important BCQ which comes in exams.